Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I will bring you the tea. Welcome to Chronicle Speaks.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
So we are officially at trial day number 24, but first let's recap trial day number 23. So day 23 of Sean P. Diddy Combs' federal trial was intense from start to finish, filled with heated legal battles, bombshell testimony, and even a surprise appearance from Mr. Kanye West himself. Now the big moments. The court officially dismissed juror number 6 after finding inconsistencies in where he claimed to live. The judge said this raised concerns about his honesty and qualifications to serve. Diddy's defense lost their attempt to block text messages about a mysterious device 1. The court ruled the texts were not protected by attorney-client privilege and can be used in court. The defense also asked the judge to instruct the jury that Brianna Bongolan lied about her injuries. They claim she falsely testified that Diddy injured her back, leg, and neck all on the same day in 2016. Now, we heard from federal agent Andre Lamone, who took the stand to walk the jury through the March 2024 raid at Diddy's Los Angeles mansion. Now, he testified about 900 bottles of Astroglide, 200 bottles of baby oil, all found throughout Diddy's home, a safe containing Diddy's passport. They also found Molly, ketamine, lingerie, and more. There were several firearms, including one with the serial number filed off, and armor-piercing ammunition. We also heard from Jonathan Perez, who was Diddy's former assistant. Now, he testified under immunity, and his testimony mirrored Jane's testimony. He confirmed that he set up the Wild King nights with red lights, adult toys, and DRUGS. He said that he was asked to bring cash for Jane after a violent fight that she had with Diddy. Perez revealed that he found an SEX video involving Jane on an iPad and told Diddy and his chief of staff, Kristina Khorram, and the court played an audio recording from Khorram discussing how to handle the video. Perez admitted that he bought DRUGS for Diddy, including cocaine, Xanax, and ecstasy. He witnessed no physical violence but helped facilitate activities Jane describes as coercive. Under cross, the defense tried to downplay Jane's trauma, painting her as jealous rather than a victim, especially after Diddy's attorney Brian Steele asked Jonathan Perez if Jane seemed like a willing participant in the Wild King nights, in which he responded yes. Now, we also had Kanye West show up that day. It was an unexpected twist. Kanye West made a brief appearance in court to support Diddy. He was dressed in all white, caused a stir in the lobby, and left about 40 minutes later. Now, the trial day closed, and we had the permanent dismissal of juror number 6, who the judge believed may have lied to get on the jury. This was a controversial move, especially with concerns about the lack of Black and Hispanic representation on the panel. Now, Diddy's team fired back in defense of juror number 6, and we are going to get into that, day number 24, and so much more. But before we do, please be sure to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any news regarding this case and so much more. Now let's get back into it. So as you recall, juror number 6 was dismissed shortly after trial day number 6 ended. Now, Diddy's team is not having it. They sent this letter to Judge Subramanian yesterday. They're saying that this juror should not be dismissed. They argue that juror number 6 did not lie or do anything deceptive. Any inconsistencies in his answers about where he lived, the Bronx versus New Jersey, are minor, explainable, and harmless. The judge even acknowledged earlier in court that the confusion could be due to how the questions were asked, not dishonesty. They're saying that losing this juror hurts Diddy's rights to a fair trial. The juror was one of the 2 only Black men on the jury. The defense argues that having racially diverse jurors is vital for fairness, especially when race and power dynamics are at play in the accusations. The case involves sexual misconduct allegations against a powerful Black man. They also suspect discrimination. They think the government targeted this juror because he's Black. The government used 7 out of its 9 jury strikes to remove Black jurors during selection, And the defense says this shows a pattern of racial bias, even if the court didn't find official proof of discrimination earlier. Bottom line, the defense wants juror number 6 back, but if the judge insists on keeping him removed, they want to declare a mistrial because they believe Diddy won't get a fair shake with that juror gone. Okay, so let's get into day number 24. Now, before the jurors are brought in, Judge Subramanian says, I hope everyone had a good weekend. The defense's motion for a NAPU instruction to the jury that witness Mongolian committed perjury. She was questioned at length on this. I denied the defense's motion. Now on to juror number 6. The record raised serious concerns about the jurors shading the answers to be on the jury. The shifting answers raised questions about the jurors' credibility, so the court indicated that juror number 6 should be dismissed. The defense now urges further questioning. The defense raised concerns about replacing an African-American juror with a white one and cite a 2D circuit case. The court takes this seriously, but further questioning is inappropriate and might negatively impact the jury. This is why we have alternates. Mr. Donaldson praised the diversity of this jury and said this process worked wonderfully. The defense asked the court to base its decision on race. That would be inappropriate, so juror number 6 is excused and is replaced by the first alternate. As to the defense's allegation of prosecutorial misconduct here, that is inviting the court to make a decision based on race and cannot be granted. As to the issue about another juror that arose on Friday, I will question that juror at the end of today's session. The party should tell me if we clear the courtroom or do it in the robing room. Now this just in, we have news from TMZ that a juror received a mysterious text message on Friday asking if he was juror number 6. The judge is fearful that he could possibly be blabbing. The judge is going to address it today, but we have information from TMZ saying Diddy's trial is still on the verge of another jury shakeup due to one of them getting a strange text message that's left the judge with concerns this juror is talking about the case outside of the court. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ that the juror alerted the court on Friday about the text message from a phone number he didn't recognize, alerting him if he was juror number 6, who'd already been in the news as someone Judge Arun Subramanian might dismiss. TMZ states that the juror wanted the judge to know about the mysterious text, and indeed, Judge Subramanian did have a lot of questions for him about the messages and the phone number from which it came. Sources say the juror did not recognize the phone number. However, the judge has concerns he might be discussing the trial with people who are not on the jury, which obviously would be a major violation of the judge's instructions. Now let's go ahead and bring the jurors in. The jurors are now entering. Welcome back, says the judge. The government may call its next witness. Prosecution says, first some exhibits entered under seal subject to connection. Now we call our first witness, Ms. Sankar. Ms. Ananya Sankar, paralegal specialist at the U.S. Attorney's Office. What did you work on in this case? 2 summary charts I was asked to verify the accuracy of. Prosecutor says, can you describe the documents underlying these charts? Hundreds of pages. And who is in the messages in the chart? Kristina Khorram. And whose cell phone number is this? Brendan Paul. How did Ms. Khorram respond to Mr. Lopez about seeing the escort? 4 laughing emojis. How long is he going to stay awake? And this one from January 30th, 2023. Is it an audio file? Yes. Ms. Foster, please play the first minute and 10 seconds. The audio is playing. Kristina's voice is playing through the audio, and she says 2 things were weird. The only person who knew was you. Someone found it in an iPad. Prosecution says, what did Kristina Khorram say in this? Sankar says, she says he's going to the 4 Seasons and he wants you to bring Gatorade and chicken noodle soup. Prosecution says, read this. I'll be Dave Shirley. Rock riding with him? Sankar's KK says no to Rock. Sankar continues, can you run $4,000 cash from Rock to the hotel? Prosecutor, as Dave Shirley says, sure. Sankar's KK says, heads up, he's about to do Wild Kings tonight. Dave Shirley says, forgot to pick up the money, just give it to Fahim just in case. What does the hotel write to Ms. Khorram? That hotel called Paul is coming up. Does Paul appear somewhere in the chart? Yes. Let's turn off the exhibit screens to the public and the press. The judge says, just let me know when they are off. Prosecution says, please read these between Jane and Ms. Khorram. Sankar's KK says, ask them if they can bring up 15 bath towels. Jane says, he always brings me 5 to 10K. They are expecting people to leave the presidential suite at 1 p.m. Sankar's KK says, we're taking off. What are these about? They are setting up a flight for Jane. What's this? Flight information for Jessica Ruiz to KK, for Arthur Jr. and Paul. And these, can you pick up cash for Guido at Mapleton? Prosecutor, as Jane, says yes. Prosecution says going in time, could we? Combs' lawyer says objection to going in time. Prosecution says I withdraw to going in time. Who is this between? Sancar says Sean Combs and Kristina Khorram. They say Guido hasn't dropped off the package yet. What does Khorram write to Sean Combs? She writes, Guido is outside. Combs replies with an audio message. Okay, let's play it. Combs sounds hoarse and he says, about Guido. Take care of it, please. Prosecution says, what does Kristina Khorram respond? Done. Okay, so let's just take a quick step back. We've all been wondering, is Kristina Khorram going to testify? She's not. So for context, this witness works with the Department of Justice, possibly as a paralegal, and she's testifying about the paper and the money trail, including financial movements, freak-offs, Kristina Khorram's involvement, and related communications. Now, she also prepared exhibits to support her testimony, and these exhibits are being entered into evidence in place of calling certain other witnesses. So she's pretty much tying in these key points so we can get a full picture of what these different witnesses have been saying and these certain timelines. Prosecution continues. Do some of these messages involve Cassie Ventura? Yes. Okay, page 5, May 2nd, 2017. What are these? Text between Cassie Ventura and KK. Okay, prosecution as Ventura says, what the F? Sankar's KK says, are you okay? No one deserves to be dragged by their hair. No. Okay, prosecution says, row 87 to 92, April 20th, 2018. Cassie and KK. Cassie says, I just can't anymore. KK says, I'm here for you. Heart emoji. I'm bummed, but don't want to derail. Definitely don't derail. It's not worth it. Let's turn to Jane's messages. You read Jane. Sankar's Jane says, we got into a fight. I'm not doing hotel night. I'll bring him a cake. So to give more context to this situation, messages sent to Sean Combs' chief of staff, Kristina Khorram, suggest that she was aware that the mogul's ex-girlfriend felt mistreated and sexually exploited and didn't want to participate in any more freak-offs or hotel nights. The ex, who testified last week under the pseudonym Jane, sent Kristina Khorram messages in early November 2023 saying that she wanted no more hotel nights and I just can't. Then after Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit a couple of weeks later, Combs himself appeared to forward screenshots of texts he received from Jane saying that she felt extremely exploited, heartbroken, and manipulated by you. Combs also appeared to send Khorram audio files of phone calls he recorded with Jane in immediate aftermath of the Ventura lawsuit. Jane told Combs that the lawsuit described word for word her experience. Prosecution says, what is the date of this filing? November 16, 2023. What are these? Audio files from November 19, 2023. Okay, let's play it. Phone ringing. Combs' voice says, we can't really talk on this phone. You know what I'm saying? I called. I reached out to you. You know what I'm saying? My love is definitely true. Just some kinky shit that I thought we definitely enjoyed. Jane says, I don't know. Her voice begins to crack. It's like word for word. It's like crazy to me. I feel sick. Combs says, but like you know, and then the audio turns off. Let's play the next one, says prosecution. Audio of Combs says, I really need your friendship right now. Don't need no text back. I just really needed to tell you that I need your friendship. I gotta meet my moms, you know what I'm saying? Please pray for me. Jane says, okay, and the audio turns off. 3 days later, what are these? KK writes, we all know your kryptonite. Combs says, please make sure Robin makes sure that rent is paid. KK said, Robin said her rent was paid. Okay, and what is this? An image found on Ms. Khorram's phone from December 28, 2023. A photo of a cell phone screen. It says, I lost work opportunities. Sankar's Jane says, you broke me. You asked me what I needed to move on, and now you're upset? Who are these between? Jane and KK. He said he would send the tapes to my baby daddy. I'm traumatized. He asked me who I'm seeing over and over again. He'll send the S tapes to the father of my child. On them, I'm DRUGGED. I'm beyond hurt by him. What does Miss Khorram say? I haven't spoken to him. And these photos of a cell phone, can you read them? Jane says, you have effed up everything. You win. Okay, what are these? Videos found on KK's device. Miss Foster, play it. A woman's voice says, like $1,000. What's in the photo? Like a long manicured nail. What does KK write? As KK, Sankar says, they just chilling at his house, out to shop like King Knight mode or Gucci bag mode. Question mark. Laugh out loud. Your Honor, we should break here. Judge says, okay, now it's time for break. Okay, at 10:55, they're back. Prosecution says, Ms. Sandcar, what does this exhibit show? Messages of Sean Combs and Damian Butler, aka D-Rock, and Mia. So the prosecution homed in on February 2024 text between Sean Combs, his security staffer Damian D-Rock Butler, and Mia, a former personal assistant to Combs. These messages, which were presented in a chart, showed Combs and Butler trying to contact Mia over a period of a week and communicating with each other about their efforts to reach her. Mia, who testified earlier using a court-approved alias, accused Combs of sexually abusing her and corroborating key details of Cassie Ventura's testimony, saying she had witnessed the former boss physically abuse his ex-girlfriend. Prosecution says turn off the screens to the public and the press. Please read D-Rock's messages. Sandcar's D-Rock says, love you, man. If you need a friend, I'm here. Combs says, I'll call you back. Talking to the kids. D-Rock to Mia says, where are you? Mia says, Virginia Beach. D-Rock's texts her number to Combs. Mia's text to D-Rock says, I didn't have my phone. I was scuba diving. D-Rock says, we're opening up a new restaurant on the 17th. He says he doesn't want anything from you. Mia continues, super smart to stay in your bubble. I am on the island off the coast of Honduras. D-Rock says, I love to hear about Honduras. Let me know if I could send you something. Mia says, I never asked for anything. D-Rock says, I'm allowed to send my sister a gift, right? So Combs texts Mia shortly after and he says, hey, I don't want to be blowing up your phone. This was on February 7th, 2024, nearly a week after the exchanges began. Just need my memory jogged on some things. Combs continued, you were my right hand for years and I just want to speak to you, to remember who was even around me. He sent security staffer D-Rock Butler a copy of the same text. The conversation took place when Combs was already battling multiple sexual assault lawsuits, including trafficking allegations from Cassie Ventura. So to give context to this situation, you remember defense lawyer Tina Garagos was trying to highlight individual messages and time periods to cast doubt on how involved Sean Combs' staff was in procuring drugs and coordinating freak-offs for their boss or intending to the physical and emotional wounds of his ex-girlfriends. For example, regarding the lengthy text message between D-Rock Butler and Combs as they were trying to get in touch with his former assistant Mia. Summary witness Anaya Sandcar confirmed that there were no records showing Combs calling Mia after February 7th, 2024. Now, Garagos also highlighted certain periods when Chief of Staff Kristina Khorram didn't appear to have communications about freak-offs, DRUG deliveries, or physical abuse, including long stretches in 2019 and 2020, according to the government summary chart. Prosecution to Ms. Sandcar says, did you have any other involvement in this case? No. No further questions, Your Honor. Judge says, Ms. Garagos. Tina Garagos says, Ms. Sandcar, this message from Damian Butler to Sean Combs, let's pull up the exhibit, line 363. Days later, the legal filing. Please read Nat Moore. Sandcar is reading as Nat Moore and says, the article could have been worse. They are calling it a breakup fight. Garagos says, let's read some more messages not included in the chart. They're being queued up now. Now the messages populate. Garagos says, Jane writes, I could be dropped off at my building's front desk. And KK writes, he speaks directly with PD. I don't deal with him, laugh out loud, right? Right, says Sandcar. Jane writes to KK, pulling up to the airport, smiley face. I'm excited to surprise him. Garagos says, may I cover with Prosecutor Foster? Judge says, of course. Jurors, while we wait, I'm going to stand up and stretch. You may as well. Garagos says, I think we need to cover the screens for the public and the press. Here we go, November 22nd, 2023, between Jane and KK, right? Yes, says Sandcar. Jane said, I'm not doing any more hard partying. Then this one about the 3 years of wasted time. Here's KK to Mr. Perez asking how does he look, and Mr. Perez replies, shockingly good, better than before, right? Yes, nothing further. Judge says next government witness, another special agent about more charts. These about certain meetings. Chart being shown is about the meeting in the London hotel involving Sean Combs, Cassie Ventura, and Jules. The chart that's currently being shown lists the flights taken by the meeting participants, including Jules Theodore, aka Jules, and Cassie Ventura. Prosecution says special agent on the chart. Defense says objection. Judge says sidebar. The sidebar is over. Judge says, Ms. Johnson. Prosecutor Johnson says, when you say attended, do you mean to say the people concerned appeared from records absent a video to have attended? Special agent says yes. Who are the participants in this chat? Jules and Sean Combs. So the jury saw more records to support a purported December 2009 meeting between Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura and an escort named Jules at the London Hotel in New York City. The records included the flight and hotel for the weekend that were paid for with Sean Combs' American Express card, and the record showed that Combs paid for the flights for Ventura and Jules in a room at the hotel. Okay, you read Jules. Agent says, as Jules, I'm available Friday through Sunday, whatever flight works. Which one? Prosecutor as Combs says Friday at 4. Where are the flights between LA, JFK, and New York? Do document retention policies impact your ability to get documents? Yes, I could not get these records. Okay, now it's time for lunch break. So the testimony will resume a bit later today at 1:45 as the parties discuss how the rest of Special Agent DeLeassa Penland's testimony will go this afternoon. Now, Penland will not be allowed to draw too many inferences based on the summary chart stating only what was contained in various correspondence and how they align with specific dates, locations, hotel reservations, and travel itineraries. So her restrictions are due to her not being an expert witness. She's a summary witness. The court wants to avoid unfair influence on the jury by having her suggest conclusions that are for the jury to make. The chart is allowed under Rule 1006, which is the summary of voluminous records, and the agent can't add personal opinion or assumptions to it. Now, what she can do is state what documents show, like the dates, locations, names. She can explain how she organized the data, and she can testify about what she found, but not what it means beyond the surface. So while the jury is still out, the judge says, shall we discuss Mr. Brendan Paul right now? Now, as you recall, Brendan Paul was one of Diddy's alleged DRUG runners, but he ended up getting off. How did he do it? We don't know. So after the judge asks that question, prosecutor says better tomorrow morning. Judge says the special agent will be on all day. Prosecutor says even until tomorrow, then Mr. Paul, then a final summary witness. Judge says what witness would the defense be putting on Friday? 3 witnesses, Vashta Wilson, Stephen Lynn, and a paralegal in our office. Prosecutor says we don't have any of those charts yet. Judge says in terms of defense expert, I'd like the Daubert issues teed up. Now, when he says Daubert issues, he's speaking of legal challenges about whether an expert witness's testimony is reliable and allowed in court. We'll work on it, says prosecution. Shapiro says we'll be providing the government with the supplemental response to Dr. Hughes's actual testimony. Diddy's lawyer Shapiro continues saying this special agent has no personal knowledge. She is just connecting up exhibits and asking the jurors to interpret them. This is not appropriate for a summary witness. It's just hotel records and flight records. Comey with the prosecution says Mr. Combs and Jules Theodore were discussing being in the same place at the same time. If this objection is sustained, we'll just have the special agent read every text message. Judge says this witness has no personal knowledge. She put together charts. So now they're officially on break, but at 1:56, the break is over and the trial is restarting. All rise. The jury enters. Ms. Johnson, the judge says, you may proceed. So the jury was shown a travel invoice sent to Bad Boy Entertainment for a flight for Cassie Ventura from LA to NYC on October 10th, 2012. Special Agent Penland then read some messages between Ventura and Sean Diddy Combs on October 13th, 2012. You ready for the night? Combs asked her. Ventura responded, yes, but need to go get some things. Combs said, man, you had all day. It's always something. The jury then saw messages from Ventura sent separately to 2 men discussing times to meet and giving them information for a hotel room in New York. The invoice for that hotel room was reserved under the name Janet Clark and paid for in cash. One of the men texted Ventura in the early morning hours of October 14th, indicating he was in another room. The jury also saw the invoice for that room, which was reserved under the name Frank Black and paid for both in cash and with an American Express card. Several videos recorded on October 14th were recovered from one of Ventura's devices, and the jury watched some of the videos, but the public was not able to see them. Prosecutor Johnson says, Special Agent, have you reviewed American Express records? I have, said Special Agent. This was an American Express purchase for a flight for Cassie Ventura from Miami. Here was a charge from the London hotel to this American Express account, said Special Agent. Whose American Express account? Sean Combs paid with an account at Signature Bank. Can you read this? Yes, it's the Trump in Columbus Circle. I'm heading there now. Can you contact the front desk and get the PORN channel unlocked? What does Miss Ventura say? Just called them. The jury continued to see exchanges of Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura setting up a freak-off, now with 4 men in January 2013, to celebrate Christmas. Combs texts Ventura, want to celebrate Christmas and have a freak-off tomorrow or Friday. Ventura texts with the men who run an escort service to arrange for one escort and personally texts with the others to set up staggering arrival times on January 11th and January 12th, 2013. One of the escorts texts Ventura, "Hello, Star, this is Santiago. I hope we can do another voyeur encounter again, and I really want to do this again with you guys." Who's in these communications? Cassandra Ventura and NY Punish, aka Sheree Hayes. What is it about? The calls in this video. Judge says, Miss Johnson, we're not seeing it. Miss Johnson says, play from 10 minutes, 30 seconds to 11 minutes. Okay, Special Agent Penland, I want to direct your attention to line number 23. I will read Mr. Combs and you will read Miss Ventura. Combs says, you horny? Would you want to have a freak off? Cassie says, call Jules. Can you send me the hotel info? About to smoke. What are you doing? Combs says, what's up? Cassie says, I asked him to drive around and we will hit him when we want him to come up. Diddy continues, I'm a bit more sexually excited than last time. Dress casually and bring baby oil. Cassie said, casual, yes. Baby oil, no. Prosecution as Johnny LA Strip. On my way to the L'Hermitage. Agent as Cassie says, do you mind driving around until I tell you? Prosecution says, we could break here. Judge says, let me see counsel at the sidebar. They have a sidebar. Judge says, jurors, you may leave for the day. All rise. So the prosecution is using Diddy's alleged freak-offs or his wild nights involving escorts, sex parties, and women like Cassie and Jane to support the RICO charges by painting them as part of a larger criminal enterprise. Now, under the RICO Act, the government isn't just trying to prove that Diddy did bad things here and there. They're arguing that he ran or was part of an organized operation that repeatedly committed crimes for personal or financial gain over time. They're framing these parties not as random moments of indulgence, but as calculated events involving recruiting, transporting, and paying women, sometimes through coercion or manipulation. The prosecution claims this behavior was systemic, the same type of parties with the same pattern of control, featuring women that he was dating and the male escorts flown in or brought across state lines, often involving drugs, alcohol, and sometimes violence or intimidation that turns private misbehavior into something far more serious, a potential sex trafficking conspiracy. To strengthen their RICO claims, prosecutors are introducing a paper trail, payments to escorts, flight itineraries, hotel bookings, and communications that show coordination. They're suggesting Diddy didn't act alone, that he had staff or associates helping to arrange and cover up these events, which make it an enterprise rather than isolated acts. Women like Cassie and Jane are key because their stories show a pattern. If multiple victims describe nearly identical experiences, being coerced, controlled, or used at the freak-offs, it helps prosecutors argue that this was not accidental or isolated, but part of an ongoing operation that qualifies under RICO. Finally, DOJ employees like Special Agent DeLeassa Penland are testifying about this paper and money trail connecting dates, locations, and payments. Now, these details are meant to back up the idea that these freak-offs were planned events that support the broader criminal goal of the alleged enterprise. In short, the prosecution is using these events to argue that Diddy wasn't just wild, he was running something organized, exploitive, and criminal. So what I need to do is hear from you. What do you think about everything currently going on in the world of Diddy? Obviously, court was cut short today because the judge wanted to get down to the bottom of what's going on with this other juror. Leave a comment, y'all. It's a lot, but leave a comment, and you know how we do. We'll talk about it down below. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching, but before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of my new episodes.